Hello friends, today we learn how to take down the Protoss war machine, bit by bit. You see, the biggest thing I've learned as a Terran is you don't want to take on the Protoss army head on in the middle of the map. No, you want to take them out piece by piece, whittling down their economy to the point that their army's just a meager little shadow of what it could be. I'm just building a few barracks and different production before I have to micro the main fight. Unfortunately, what this does is it makes me panic when my army is finally here, and I don't scan into the fight, so I don't get to set up my tanks in a suitable position. Meanwhile, my mineral count is also skyrocketing right now, so I'm spending too much time focusing on this fight rather than building more units. I see on my sensor tower that his army's sitting right outside of my base, so I start trying to set my units up in a defensive posture. One thing that I learned from the helpful people on Reddit is that if you're going to have your army staying in one place and you know that you're going to have to look away for various reasons, you want to set them up in a good defensive position before the fight happens. So while I send out that medevac, because the Protoss army's at my doorstep and they can't defend his base, I'm also going to be setting my units up in a defensive way, get that concave and spread my marines out. That way if I have to go micro that medevac, my army is already in a defensive posture, and they're already going to make good trades without me having to baby them. The Protoss army is just sitting outside my base right now, nowhere near his own base, so there's nothing to deal with this medevac drop, which means they're able to go completely unnoticed. The Protoss knows he has to do something to respond to that economic damage, so he attacks up the high ground right in my tanks, liberators, and bioforce. There's bunkers up there, there's tanks all the way up in my main shooting down. The liberators have a massive concave, or a concentric Venn diagram of freedom, is that what the kids call it? That just make easy work of his army. Now he has a lower supply count, and the whole time that I made that trade, which killed his whole army basically, I also kill pretty much every probe on this base. I notice when he's attacking into me that all of my units are where they need to be, so I use that opportunity to micro this medevac. I even had 2 marauders just randomly follow the medevac due to misclicking, but I kill the whole economy on that base, so even though he has a 1 base lead on me, he's not making use of it. And now I forget about the medevac drop because I'm going back to macroing, and it did the damage that it needed to do. Again, I get my liberator count up, which means that I'm able to queue some liberators and medevacs over to harass. I notice with my liberator that's going to harass on the top right side that his whole army's sitting outside of my base, which is perfect because that means the medevac on the left is going to go unnoticed. And I saw that he pulled his whole army back. So that's another benefit of harassing the Protoss at his main bases when his army's on the map. That 1, the bases are undefended, but 2, if he wants to defend his bases and he doesn't have the best micro, he's just going to send his whole army back to his base, giving you room to do things like expand to your 4th. I also restrict him from getting gas on this side, and I take out a few probes over here while getting him off of the map and out of my doorstep. So it's just wins across the board for very minor trades. In fact, the Protoss is now below me in a worker count, which is just beautiful. And it's such a psychological win to have the Protoss off your front step too, because you're not so worried about what second he's going to attack you. You know that he's going to have to move across the map first, set up for the fight, compared to when you don't send those harassing units over and they're just breathing down your neck and you feel like you can't take expansions when you need to. So again, I'm about maxed out, so I send out some liberators to harass. And this is the benefit of having a good bioforce to take on Terran versus Protoss. You can just keep harassing and destroying their economy. And it's just beautiful when they do an attack like this. He thinks he's cute with his blink pushing right up to my front line, but he's really just hopping directly under my Liberator's siege range. And even if he does that to attack the Liberators, he's walking right into the range of the tanks. And then at the end of the day too, that's giving me room for my bioforces to whittle down his army. So again, I get to kill his whole army with minor losses on my side. Meanwhile, this Liberator's going unnoticed and just decimating his economy, while he's still completely focused on this attack that isn't getting anywhere. So he has 5 bases, I only have 4, and I'm getting the economic damage just by staying where I'm at and just constantly harassing him. Beside that, Liberator's not doing enough damage. He's able to kill some of my workers here, but I restrict all mining from this base as he goes to move his units away from it. Start sending in my Bioforce to take out one of the guy's bases without putting my whole entire army on the front, which is really new for me. Not used to doing that, but you can see the beauty from it because they have so much DPS. And then I'm able to hop most of them back in the medevacs and pull back, therefore giving me a whole entire base or tiny losses. Now the Protoss is attacking my base. I'm kind of trying to use that bio army to defend, but really wasn't the best idea. It's not a big enough force, but still what I'm really focusing on is setting up these Liberator harasses, because again, I know its army's right on my doorstep, which means he's not over at his base. And I'm forcing him to either attack into me or pull back to defend against all of this harass. I tried to use this planetary fortress as a defending foothold, not realizing that it was slowly burning to death. Again, while all this is going on, boom, murdering his economy with a harassing Liberator. You can see he's not attacking me anymore, which gives me time to set up defensively because he's creating stalkers to take out this Liberator. And now he's down to 35 workers while I have 79. I'd call that a considerable advantage. And I tempt him to harass into my Liberator in tank line, but he's not having it. I'm at the point where I have so much resources I don't know what to do with them. My army's maxed out, build extra command centers. I'd probably make a few more barracks. I keep forgetting that that's an option. My macro's falling apart, but that's kind of late game for me. I've got a lot of vital workers, but also that's when I try to do this harassing style. It is very micro intensive. It's alright. I get another kill on a base with this small detachment of Marines and Marauders. What you will find is this isn't my whole army, so I am going to lose a lot of that Bioforce, but I get the big tech units out of the way, so it's not the worst loss, and I already killed a base with that. And again, this means this base is entirely undefended, so I use a different portion of my army to attack into here. Now I know that his army's coming for me, so I try to set my Liberators up in a way that protects both the tank and the bio army. That way I can just get a really good trade here. Might not have been the best idea in the world, but since I've got this economic advantage on him, now it's time to make use of it and just make good trades. And here's the beauty about taking a base up on this forward high ground. It's a great defensive position, that way you can launch offensive endeavors from it. So I'll be able to use my bio armies to harass both this mining base and this mining base, while taking a good chunk of the map, getting map control, all while giving me an extra base to gather minerals from. So as you can see with this engagement, I just use my bio army to whittle down his troops, and then I use this defensive posture so that if he wants to attack into my bio army, he's going to take heavy losses. I start kind of leapfrogging my way forward with the Liberators. He tries to run around the Liberators, but all that does is put him in range of my tanks. And when he tries to blink on top of the tanks, he ends up going into the Liberator range, which was what he was trying to avoid doing. And so he loses his whole army. Which means that since he can't defend very well, especially once I set up that Liberator line, this base behind is completely vulnerable and ripe for the taking, keeping him from ever rebuilding that army. I send out some scans and figure out where his little army is. I see that they're coming to try to attack my defensive position. Move the bio army over. And wipe up the rest of his fighting units. Now that I've killed his army, I can just easily push into the heart of the Protoss. He tries making a sneaky air transition with Void Rays, but it's a little too late. A little too late, a little too little. There it is, the GG's. Subscribe for more tips and tricks on how to win Starcraft. And subscribe. I already say that? I don't know. Subscribe. Okay, bye. Thanks for watching.